Hey, good morning and welcome to Coffee and Vinyl number 228. How's it going, everyone? And with my guest today is Shawn. Hey, Shawn, how are you?
Morning, guys.
Hey, I always say Shawn from North Carolina because we have Shawn from Australia. He's TV. Yeah. Hey, good morning, Glenn with Swap Picker. Hey, good morning. How are you? And then good morning, Cajun Roots Reseller. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us. I needed that. I'm feeling much better today, folks, than I was yesterday. Yesterday I was wiped out because I had another kidney stone moving around. So,
Man,
hopefully it's going to find a place to stop somewhere.
I hope so. Kidney stones are no joke, man.
No joke at all. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was watching records yesterday, and I watched this record right here, Grandpa Jones, folks. And I'm like, well, I better play it just to see if it's going to play properly, see if it goes all the way through, no jumps and repeats, thinking it's going to be a noisy record. Darn if I didn't throw this thing on and it sounds so good. It's so quiet and no jumps, no repeats. There's some marks on here, but, Shawn, you're exactly right. We have lost something with the record manufacturing. This is on the...
Oh, yeah. I mean... I feel like vinyl formulation started to change around the, I don't know, probably the mid 60s, I want to say, because I mean, as much as I love, old jazz records from the 50s, I mean, that's one of the best kept secrets when you're looking for old jazz records is that if you find one, I mean, it can look like it was backed over by a Mack truck and it'll still play all right. And yeah, I mean, we've clearly lost something in the vinyl manufacturing process, whether it, maybe it was just one of those things where it was a different formulation and, over time they moved to, cheaper manufacturing methods, maybe different formulation or something that maybe wasn't, was more durable, but not as environmentally friendly or whatever it might be. But there's no doubt that, and I mean, even those old, 50s rock and roll records, I mean, those old Chuck Berry and Buddy Holly records can, again, they could look like they were backed over by a Mack truck and still play fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I used to, hey, we live, we learn. And I learned that rather than discarding those or throwing them in the dollar bin, and it's mainly because for me, it was like, the Beatles, I would get the Beatles records in and people were interested and they'd be like, well, does this one sound okay? And I'm like, I'll play it. And I was like, whoa. And
yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
And, the vinyl, the actual pressing process. But of course, a lot of those same presses that were used for the Beatles are still used today. I'm sure they've been modified and.
Yeah.
And,
but I mean, yeah, I mean, visually, those things can be, G plus and still play, perfectly enjoyably. I mean, they might have a little bit of ambient crackle or something, but I mean, they still play fine.
Yeah. Like, bring them on, folks. I forgot to turn my light on. Not that you want to see my mug any better, but hey, you get to see my mug better now. Oh my! I'm gonna share this one other record, and I'm looking forward to listening to this. So, I had a huge jazz buyback, and I went and put it out a week ago last night for the estate sale. But there was 3 crates of records I never got priced, and I brought some to Raleigh to price, not only to price but also put out here for the Jazz Center and just making it happen. Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you doing? Thank you so much for stopping by. I really like your white room. I was thinking that would have been a good room for records, but the glass looks great in there, Steve. Hey, good morning, Jennifer Hayes. How are you? Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. But this is one record I'm looking forward to playing.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, with all the glare, I'll pull it out of the sleeve. So it's Shelly Manne and Friends, My Fair Lady. I'm looking forward to playing this.
Let me know once you play that and get that priced. Because if you're not going to hang on to it, I may be interested in that.
Well, it's got the lovely Leroy Vinegar playing bass on here, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. And it's a sample copy, folks. Sample, not for sale. So,
yeah, a lot of the contemporary albums that you had in that stack were stamped with that ink stamp, or that it was a sample copy.
I don't know the story. I don't know anything about the estate, so I don't know, what happened there. Hey, good morning, Donald. How are you doing today, Donald? Thanks so much for stopping by. And good morning, Russell. How are you doing, sir? Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, good to see everybody this morning. And happy Sunday. Cheers, everybody. What have you been spinning anything? Have you had any discoveries lately, Shawn? Anything grabbing your? I got to see what's in your. See what's on your wall.
Yeah. I just did that for decoration because I'm usually just sitting behind a big Kallax full of random records. So I figured I'd put something to look at there instead.
Is that a place behind you?
What's that?
Is that a fireplace behind you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a gas insert, but yeah. It's really kind of sad these days that developers, at least if you're building in a subdivision, developers almost universally will not put in just a regular run-of-the-mill boring wood-burning fireplace with a chimney anymore because it completely kills the energy efficiency ratings in the house. And they get breaks on stuff for energy efficiency and everything else. So the only real way to get an actual wood burning fireplace in a new house anymore is if you've got your own land and you're hiring a developer to go and build a house for you and it's completely custom, then you can get that done. But if you're gonna be building in a subdivision, forget it.
Does that mean you can't go in and HOA? Do you have an HOA?
Sadly.
Can you go in there and convert that to a wood burning fireplace?
I don't think so, but I mean, even if I could, I mean that would be a ton of money. So I put up with the gas insert, but yeah, I would love a traditional wood burning fireplace.
Me too, or stove. Steve's got a Brick House Salvage. He's got this incredible, very deep wood burning furnace stove in his basement. And
oh yeah,
I think he said he can get, I don't know, 3 feet, maybe longer logs in there. And
yeah,
it's massive. I wish I knew more about that, but I wish I was able to burn. But then again, what am I? I'm not home very much in the day. I feel like I live here because I'm either at one of the crates or going back and forth. I don't like my life, but how are you guys doing? Hey, TC, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Good to see.
Talk some. Talk.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some good new arrivals come in lately. Was pretty stoked to have these. I passed both of these up numerous times back in the early 2000s when they came out because I thought they were weird that these albums came out on double 10-inch, and I thought that was just the leader of the band being a hipster. What I realized is that both of those albums were just long enough that they were too long for a single 12-inch LP, but they weren't long enough for 4 sides. So instead of doing 2 LPs and only doing like 3 sides and an etched 4th side or something, they decided to just put it on double 10-inch. But Radiohead's Kid A,
oh yeah,
and Amnesiac. These are 2 of my favorite Radiohead records, and yeah, back in the day I bought them on CD rather than buying them on vinyl, and I've kind of kicked myself in the butt for that for years, but finally found some good quality originals, nice condition. So
very cool. Well, even the reissues have been good.
Yeah, have they? Yeah. I've heard people that like them and people that didn't, so I don't know.
The best record you have is the best record you have. So
yeah, certainly.
Better.
Yep.
Enjoy it. Yeah. Cheers.
This is going to sound funny that I would be mega excited about this, but Aerosmith albums were almost always partied hard on. That said, I've never seemed to have a problem finding decent quality copies of like the first album and Get Your Wings and Toys in the Attic and Rocks, I should say. But the one that I have had a hell of a time trying to find in decent condition was Night in the Ruts.
Oh yeah.
And I know that this isn't their, most widely regarded album or anything. It came out in 79, the year I was born. I like to have albums from 1979. I actually really like this record, But this has been one of the hardest, like, vintage Aerosmith albums for me to find an original copy of in decent shape, man. Every time I find these, they are just trashed. So
I hear you. It's like that sometimes, and other things are so plentiful.
yeah,
We'll just have to drive out to Kansas or something. We can find all the Aerosmith out there or something.
So a while back, you had said that we never really talked much about Elliott Smith, and I had told you that I didn't know a whole lot about Elliott Smith. I knew one of his records, the album XO from '98, and that's a great record. And I came into an original copy of that fairly recently, and this thing sounds fantastic. Really? So this was a nice find.
I've been very fortunate to have gotten some Elliott Smith. When Elliott Smith was alive, I heard a name on the radio. Elliott Smith's playing at the Cradle. Elliott Smith's playing here, and they would play the Elliott Smith on the radio, and I just wasn't paying attention to it. And darn, if I had, I'd see Elliott Smith. But hey, I've been fortunate to get some original pressings of his.
Cool. Another one from the early 2000s that I passed on a whole bunch of times and have kicked myself in the butt for years for not buying when I had the chance to buy it at retail price, but finally managed to find a copy from 2000, The Cure's Blood Flowers. I think this was the last great Cure record. They put out two after this, and the two they did after this didn't really measure up, but man, this one's got I got a soft spot for this one. It's great.
I feel like Wish was their last record. Wild Mood Springs, I just couldn't get into that. And
yeah, I didn't like Wild Mood Swings at all. But
the funny thing is, I really, really love Wish. I'm one of those few.
I like Wish. Yeah, Wish is good.
At the same time, I listen to 17 Seconds and Disintegration, and I just love Cure.
Yeah, they're a great group. I don't know that we'll ever see another album from them, but I know they still tour, but I don't know that we'll see any more albums. I mean, it's been 13 years now since their last album. 2008 was 413 was their last album, and that came out in 2008. So it's been 13 years.
Some RSD drops for Record Store Day drops for
yeah, Blood Flowers, actually, I believe.
Yeah, and which is wonderful.
Oh yeah,
I'm really
I mean, it's great to get those titles out there on vinyl. So couple of new releases, like brand new releases that I've been digging on. First, somehow when this came out in August of 2020, I somehow missed the fact that this came out, but better late than never. The new Killers album, Imploding the Mirage, is amazing.
Ooh.
Very, very good. If you like any of the previous Killers albums, you'll like this one. It's really good. Well, it's got that typical kind of, keyboard driven sound, sort of 80s sounding, but very, up tempo, and yeah, good stuff, typical Killers lyrical subjects. So very good. This one just came out Friday, and it's polarizing people a little bit. I'm on the like it side. New Foo Fighters record, Medicine at Midnight. This thing's poppy. It's rather poppy, but the songwriting is there. The band's tight. Lyrics are good. I dig it. I like it.
The blue one?
Yeah, I got the blue one. And also, interestingly enough, in addition to it being blue vinyl, the other thing I got was this like promotional flip mat that came with it. So I thought that was kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. Good for you.
Yeah. And then let's see.
I don't want to use the word sellout, but some people felt like that record is a sellout record.
Yeah, I don't feel that way. I mean, I think the Foo Fighters have always had a little bit of a pop edge to them. I mean, go back to like '95, right? Look at that song "Big Me." remember the video for that song? It was the parody of the Mentos commercial. I mean, that's as poppy as you get. You know, I mean, I think what people are taking issue with, they're saying it's because it's poppy and it's sellout, but I think what they're taking issue with is keyboards and you know, a little bit of electronic beats, but that doesn't bug me. I mean, you know, bands, not everybody can be AC/DC, right? And put out the same record for 40 years and somehow it never gets old. If most bands do that, it would get old.
So, the only kids are like, let's make it $40 this time.
Yeah. That was ridiculous. That's a good album, but that's a ridiculous price.
It's been a so slow seller because of the price point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people that were like, I'd love to have that, but I'm not paying $40 for it.
I think it's like 36 or 39, but yeah, exactly. Hey, Susie Woozy, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for hanging out with us. One of the best YouTube names in the world, folks, Susie Woozy.
So another recent arrival. I don't have too much good to say about Ted Nugent personally. I will never listen to Ted, but I will listen to Ted's guitar every single day of the week. And this 1990 copy of Damn Yankees hits a sweet spot. Yeah, this was Ted Nugent and Tommy Shaw, and this album's so good.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's the only rock and roll musicians I know of that had the Secret Service come to his house because he threatened the President of the United States of America.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't have much for the guy personally, but that doesn't take away from his guitar playing. You can enjoy a man's art without necessarily approving of his hobbies.
Well, I've certainly seen a change in sell with things like that. I'm gonna show you another Shelly Manne record I got.
Oh,
Shelly Manne and His Men. This is I love the fact that we get to see his drums. It's just amazing.
So, I was actually gonna do a little bit on contemporary today. Another one of those promo spam, and I got a couple of Shelly Manne records in there too.
Oh, cool! That's awesome. I love hearing about. Don't forget about Jack Blades. Yep.
The third guy. Thank you, TC. I was struggling to remember his name, but yes, Jack Blades. He was the third guy in Damn Yankees.
Thank you so much, Jen. I would love to hire you to be a mod. I would gladly pay you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for that.
This showed up yesterday, and I just about squealed. This is a heavy metal treasure. Original 1990 copy of Queensryche's Empire. This is if Operation Mindcrime wasn't the best Queensryche album, this one is.
There you go. I touched that on cassette yesterday. TC says he loved Damn Yankees despite
Ted's presence. Yep, exactly.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's interesting too. This Queensryche album. This is actually the only. Silent Lucidity on this record is the only Queensryche single to ever crack the top 100 in the U.S.
I don't have that on vinyl, but I have a lot of the other Queensryche on vinyl.
And then the last time I did a live stream with you, I was talking about some 80s country and showing some of those records. Yeah. And you were saying that, and as luck would have it, right about a week after that, came into this.
Oh, his first record.
Columbia House pressing. And I didn't realize that in that new Garth Brooks Legacy box set that this album wasn't included. Why he wouldn't include the first album in that? I mean, that seems like a complete missed opportunity. So, I mean, still, even in the present day, still the only way to get this on vinyl is to find an original. It's unbelievable. This record is so good.
Have you noticed the coat that he's wearing?
Yeah, it's a jean jacket.
Yeah. Has it ever been worn before you put it on for that photo shoot?
I don't know. But man, you know, And what's funny about this record is, right? I mean, we could be here all day talking about how Garth Brooks changed country music forever. But when this record came out, everybody thought he was just going to be another one of the traditionalists like George Strait and Randy Travis and all those guys, Alan Jackson, Clint Black, and you know, because I mean, if you listen to this first record, that's exactly what it is. And boy, how wrong we all were.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there a popular song? Was there a radio hit on that song record?
Oh God, there were a few. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. If Tomorrow Never Comes is on this. Much Too Young to Feel This Damn Old, and The Dance.
The Dance. I've heard that title before. Yeah.
I'm sure you'd probably know If Tomorrow Never Comes and Much Too Young to Feel This Damn Old. Those were all over the radio back in the day. And then lastly, got from you yesterday, and this will kind of be a segue, but speaking of those contemporary promotional stamped.
Hold on a second. Garth is incredibly savvy.
I guess. I don't know, man. He should want to get his art out there, because I'm sure there are a whole lot of people, especially in the modern day, that would love to have that first album on vinyl that, you know, don't want to pay the ridiculous collector prices for an original copy.
I dislike resellers. Oh, you better watch yourself. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Was it on a different label than his second record?
I don't know. The first album was on Capitol.
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that one.
But I don't pay attention to it. But I wonder if it had something to do with rights and publishing and contracts and things like that.
It could be. Yeah, I don't know. But not having that first record in that box set seemed like a real missed opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, you know, I've had a decent copy of this for a long time that played really, really well, and I always told myself it'd be really, really hard for me to find an upgrade, but somehow you delivered, man. Sonny Rollins' Way Out West. This thing sounds incredible.
It's incredible to hear the bass on that.
And this is one of two albums that I think proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that jazz does not require a piano to be awesome, because this is just a saxophone trio. This is Sonny Rollins on tenor, Ray Brown on bass, and Shelly Manne on drums. That's it. No piano at all.
That's the reason you need to look in the country music section, folks, because some people would file that under country music that's not very familiar with jazz.
The other album of saxophone trio that I think is amazing that everyone should hear is actually let me grab that 1 second. I've got it right here.
Behind door number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Behind door number 6. He included it in the set from '99, so it's strange that he didn't appease community.
This is another West Coast guy, but Jerry Mulligan's "What Is There to Say" on Columbia. This is another saxophone trio record. If you ever find a copy of this, don't pass it up. It's so good.
Seems like I have a copy of that.
It's not terribly hard to find. I see it pretty regularly.
Very cool.
So you know, it's a good segue. You know, contemporary. So when it comes to jazz labels, right? You had a lot of the popular labels that put out stuff that was coming out of New York at that time, you know, mid 50s and into the 60s. You know, Columbia, Blue Note, Riverside, Prestige, you know, they all sort of focused on the New York side of things. But then on the opposite coast, you had an entire scene of players based in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and that was more what they called West Coast jazz, or quote unquote cool jazz. And these days, I feel like West Coast jazz is not nearly as appreciated as it should be.
Mhm.
And the two really big labels that that really documented a lot of the West Coast jazz scene at that time was Pacific Jazz and Contemporary. I think Contemporary was probably a slightly bigger budget label, so they had more distribution than Pacific Jazz did. I love when I find Pacific Jazz out in the wild, because out here on the East Coast, it doesn't happen very often. And, I've got West Coast jazz heads that are like, man, I trip over Pacific Jazz in record shops all the time. And
And Pacific Jazz is also a label, folks, not only a region, but it's a label.
Yes, Pacific Jazz is one of the two labels that were really documenting that. I could go on and on about Pacific Jazz, but Contemporary, like I said, I think they definitely have a better library of jazz recordings, and they could afford to get their records out more to a larger audience than Pacific Jazz could. So, these two are some of the best contemporary albums that you're likely to find. The Curtis Counts Group, Volume 1, and of course Volume 2 with the hilarious cover art. You get more bounce with Curtis Counts, baby. But Curtis Counts, it was and still is incredibly underrated. The guy was a fantastic bassist, and some of the groups that he put together back in the day were just amazing. And those two Curtis Counts Group records are fantastic. So, if you ever come across those, highly recommended. Good stuff.
Yours has CL on the back.
Yeah, I don't. So all of these promo copies that I got from you, they all have CL written on the back. Why? I don't know.
I think it could be Contemporary Loan.
Could be either that, or it could have been the owner's initials. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Another guy that put out a lot of really great records on Contemporary back in the day was pianist Hampton Hawes. And Hampton Hawes was a West Coast guy, but he did a lot of stuff with some of the more well-known East Coast players as well. Hampton Hawes appears on a very small select number of prestige titles, and I think even one or two Blue Note records. The specific titles are escaping me at the moment, but this is probably the best album he did on Contemporary. Hampton Hawes Trio Volume 1. I mean, there is not a bad moment on this. This is one of those records, if you don't like... Yeah, so most of what Hampton Hawes did on Contemporary was piano trio records. And so, if you're the type that, you don't like horns, you don't like sax, you don't like trumpet, that kind of thing, you just want, some good, easy stuff to digest. Piano trios are great. It's just piano, bass, and drums. So this is a good one.
Very cool.
And then moving on, Hampton Hawes Trio Volume 2. And Volume 2 is, believe this is the same band as Volume 1. Yeah, it's the same band. It's Volume 1, and it's just as good. And then, let's see. And this is, again, the same band, Hampton Hawes Trio Volume 3. And, again, it's just as good. All right, now this is one that was released under Hampton Hawes' name, but this one is not a trio. This is a quartet, so this has tenor sax with it. But this album, For Real, is super, super good. Harold Land was a great tenor saxophonist, and he's on this. Scott LaFaro was a great bassist who unfortunately died very young. But Scott LaFaro, in addition to playing with Hampton Hawes, he also used to do a lot of stuff with Bill Evans in the early days. So just about anything with Scott LaFaro on it is going to be good. Oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, this came out right after he died, and you can see down there in the lower right, you can see the little obituary that they wrote for him down there. Oh. So what was it, 1936 to 1961. So yeah, he was in his mid-20s. It's a shame. Here's a sleeper pick. This is one that I had actually never heard before, but grabbed out of your contemporary stack because it just looked interesting, and very, very glad I did. Mel Henke Volume 2. I was actually really, really surprised at how good this was. So, this has, I won't say a who's who of West Coast guys at the time, but it's got a pretty solid band on it, including the one and only Shelly Manne on drums.
Shelly Manne.
So, yeah, this is a good one. Came out in 1956.
Yeah, it's just amazing. As much jazz as there is, and much of it is so plentiful that people just focus on the top artist, and it's really sad. And even myself, I'm discovering stuff every week, folks. Whether it's jazz or rock or new wave. Darn, I found a new wave record I never heard before. Wasn't even familiar with the artist at all, and I just went crazy on one of the estates. And Captain Sensible, just amazing stuff. And that's so true with any genre, but
yeah,
it's just so sad.
It is, and the other thing, people focus on a name, right? To your point, especially with jazz, they focus on particular artists, not understanding that, there are a lot of albums out there also that have those artists as sidemen in the jazz band, right? Not necessarily as the leader. So yeah, it's crazy. So Contemporary put out probably my single favorite live recording ever for jazz, and that says something. All 4 volumes of this are incredible. They're all from the same concert, and it's adjacent catalog numbers, so it's 75, 77, 78, 70, it's 75, 77, and then 75, 78, 75, 79, and 75, 80. Shelly Manne and his men at the Black Hawk. The Black Hawk was an old guard West Coast jazz club in San Francisco. Unfortunately, it's now a parking lot. So literally they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. But there was some killer stuff that's been recorded at the Black Hawk over the years. There's some great Dave Brubeck live recordings. Miles Davis played at the Black Hawk. It did a short stint there that they released years ago. But Shelly Manne at the Black Hawk, Volume 1, Volume 2, 3, and 4. These are amazing. I mean, there is just no other way around it. I have never heard a jazz band sound so unbelievably tight in my life. Wow. These guys were just firing on all cylinders during this concert, and it's great that they documented it and that this got released, because you cannot find a better live jazz recording than this.
Very cool.
The other contemporary I've got here is another Shelly Manne, The 3 and the 2. This one's it's a great cover. So the reason they say The 3 and the 2 is because side 1 is The 3, and it's Shelly Manne on drums, there's Shorty Rogers on trumpet, and Jimmy Giuffre on clarinet, tenor, and baritone. So, it's a 3-piece. And then the side 2 is the 2, and it's literally just Shelly Manne and Russ Freeman on piano. So it's just piano and drums, not even any bass. And it's actually really cool to listen to hear that. I actually like side 2, the 2 better than the 3 on this. So cool.
Very cool.
And then let's see. Another West Coast guy that put out plenty of good stuff on contemporary over the years is Art Pepper.
Oh yeah, Art. He's so cool.
Oh, Art Pepper is great. So on this, Art Pepper's playing alto sax, and this is actually a sort of a West Coast meets East Coast kind of thing, because it's Art Pepper on alto, but then the rhythm section is all New York guys. It's Red Garland on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums. But Art Pepper meets the rhythm section. This record is outstanding. So this is another one of those promo copies that I got out of your stack, Adam.
I have a wonderful stack, folks. I have a wonderful stack.
Yeah, he does.
So yeah.
And then I think I've said this before, but when it comes to big band recordings, I like big bands, but I don't necessarily like big band recordings from the old days, because I don't feel like the power and punch of a big band really comes through on a lot of recordings. I feel like a big band is one of those things that you really want to sort of see live to get the full experience. That said, there are certain big band recordings that definitely do it for me, and this is one of them. Art Pepper plus 11. Yeah.
One comes to mind. One comes to mind. I'll see if that was one you showed. One comes to mind. I'll see if that's one of the ones you showed. So I'll wait.
There's another one too. The Dizzy Gillespie Big Band on Verve. That one is amazing as well. And then the only other one I had to show here on contemporary was this one. The vinyl's in a lot better shape than the jacket is, but it's another Sonny Rollins. Sonny Rollins leads the Contemporary All-Stars. So this is Barney Kessel on guitar and Hampton Hawes on piano, Leroy Vinegar on bass, and Shelly Manne on drums. But this is a great record.
There you go. Yeah.
So
yeah. Hey, good morning, Ruth. How are you doing today? Thank you for stopping by. I've seen you around. Good morning, Kurt. How are you? Thank you for stopping. There's a lot going on there.
Hey, Kurt.
+3, +11. Yeah. Yeah. So the big band record I think about is it's either 1933, 1934 live recording of who's the guy that played the clarinet?
Benny Goodman.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what it.
Oh, are you talking about the Carnegie Hall concert?
Yeah. Who's that?
That's 1938.
Who was the name? Is that Benny Goodman?
Yeah.
No. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Wait. I mean, if you're talking about the famous clarinetist, that would probably be Benny Goodman. Yeah.
It's an incredible record. I mean, for it to sound as good as it did, it sounds so. Yeah, Benny Goodman. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've got that concert on 7-inch box sets. I got these from you, actually.
Absolutely, yeah. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Even if you find the CD, folks, it's just a good recording. And to think it was recorded, did you say 1938?
Yeah, yep, 1938 is when that concert was recorded.
Yeah, 3 plus 3 plus 11. There you go.
And yeah, I don't know. Like, it's always been one of my goals to, and post COVID, I'm going to really try and do this, but it's always been one of my goals to like go to New York City and go see the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra at the Village Vanguard on a Monday night. Thad Jones started that big band back in the 50s, and it still plays every Monday night in the at the Village Vanguard, which is really the only old guard New York City jazz club that's left, especially now that Birdland is on the verge of closing. And Birdland's not in the same location as it was years ago, but it's still around, at least for right now. But they had to resort to a GoFundMe and stuff like that. So I don't know if Birdland's going to survive. Thankfully, the Village Vanguard is in a little bit better shape because it's family owned and they own the building, so they're not subject to to ridiculous rents and things like that. Plus, I think they get rent from apartments that are up higher in the building, because the Vanguard's down in the basement. But yeah, so I think the Vanguard is going to be okay. Which I certainly hope so, because I mean, if there is a such thing as holy ground for jazz, I mean, the Village Vanguard in New York City is one of them. One of my favorite stories about the Village Vanguard, listening to the lady that ran it before she died, and her family's running it now. But she said that one night Charles Mingus and band was playing, and Mingus got mad on stage about something, which he was very well known to do. And he grabbed his, he's playing his bass, and all of a sudden he gets mad and he just takes his double bass and goes, "Ugh!" And the neck went straight through one of the stage lights up above. And they never fixed that light. And to this day, that light remains broken, and they call it the Mingus light.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I bet it was the first rock and roll stage show ever, treatment ever. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the reason I think Johnny Cash got banned from the Grand Ole Opry, because he made one performance and there were some people heckling him in the first couple of rows, and he finally got so mad that he grabbed the mic stand. And he grabbed the mic stand and he just dragged it across the front of the stage lights at the bottom of the stage that were pointing up, and he just dragged it across and broke every one of the stage lights and walked off stage.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Wow. Johnny would put his first album in a box set. He would do that.
Yes.
Garth may not have any control over that at all. So.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, it just seemed really weird to me that he wouldn't put that first record. I mean, and I started thinking to myself, right, it was either, some kind of a publishing thing, or, it could also be that maybe he just doesn't like his first album because it's so different than a lot of the stuff that came after it,
Yeah. And, a lot of times people say, why doesn't so-and-so do so-and-so? Why does so-and-so? And a lot of times they sign contracts and they don't have any control over that.
But then you've got people like Bob Seger, right? Bob Seger refuses to allow any of those old Capitol albums to be released on CD or vinyl or anything else. He hates them. He hates the way they sound. And so Smokin' OPs and all of those early Capitol albums that he did, those have never been re-released in official capacity because Seger won't allow it.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good that he has retained or gained that control over.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that he has that control, but at the same time, man, it's really disappointing that he won't let that stuff go and let it be released.
But he does like his 60s stuff, the Seeger system.
I don't no, I don't think any of those have been released either.
Third Man,
or maybe they have
stuff. I may not know exactly what they did release, but Third Man released some.
Okay.
Third.
Yeah, I mean, granted, my information is probably a few years old at this point, so I could be I could be having outdated knowledge here. But there are there are so many albums that came out back in the day that just never made it into the digital realm. I mean, look how long Neil Young withheld the release of Time Fades Away.
Yeah.
But I mean, we all know Neil Young's to call him eccentric would be putting it mildly.
Well, I do appreciate the fact that Neil wants his music to sound as good as it can sound. So he's right there with his ear before it's mastered, and I appreciate that. But yeah, so Third Man released a Bob Seger system, the Bob Seger system, 2+2.
Wow.
That was released.
When?
In the last 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So then some things have changed. All right. Well, then I stand corrected.
No. We all learn every day.
Yeah.
But it was a 7-inch single. It wasn't an LP.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, 2017.
Okay.
That's what that was.
Interesting. So the LPs haven't been re-released yet, but they did get a single out. Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, but I like Bob Seger's system. I think it's good stuff. And even
I do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's 2+2 on the other side is Ivory.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's really cool. Wow. So a lot of people are going to be watching television tonight. Unfortunately, I won't be one of those people watching television tonight.
Yeah, I don't have much for the Super Bowl this year. I haven't had much for sports in 2020. Just limited crowds or no crowds, as the case may be, and it's just been an off year, man.
Right. Well, 2018, I did not watch that football game, and I don't know if I've ever seen one, but I contemplated whether to do a sell or not, and I'm just going to stick with my Sunday night sell. And hey, and if you're watching the football game, that's awesome, and I'm really happy for you. And I want everybody to watch the football game. I don't want you to come over to me and miss the football game. But if you're not doing the football game and you want to come hang out with me, you're more than welcome to. But there's always a play day. So I got a question for you, Shawn. I know you know the answer, and I got it right here. But I recently discovered this right here. But so Blue Note has a series called Tone Poet.
Uh-huh.
And this is a Lee Morgan Tone Poet. And people love listening to this stuff. It sounds so good. And as much as they could, they went to the original tapes, and there's wonderful videos on YouTube and watch them, making the new plates, mastering it. And who is the Tone Poet?
What's his name? Steve. What? Of course, you're going to get me with that one. What the hell's his name?
Joe Harley.
Oh, Joe Harley. That's who it is.
Yeah, and I didn't discover this until recently, folks. I kept seeing Tone Poet. Yeah. What's the origins of that phrase, Tone Poet? So I went and listened to it, and then, Joe Harley has a wonderful, wonderful resume, if you would. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was with Music Matters, and did some wonderful stuff. But I'm not saying it's not happening in the rock and roll world. I'm not saying it's not happening in the country world or the pop world, the new wave world, or the R&B or the soul. But, I think these other genres could really learn a lot from how blues records are being reissued and how they're treated and how so much focus is just on the sound rather than the money.
Right.
And when you think about a Blue Note Tone Poet series and $35 for an audiophile pressing for something that has been so supervised and so handled so well. Yeah. That's a bargain.
My big thing, right, and as well as anybody that, for me, it's I tend to like and prefer vintage pressings just for the historical aspect. However, my big thing with Tone Poet is I would love to see them continue to release more albums from, say, the last 30 years, right? From 1990 onward, Blue Note albums, of which there are tons in that span, right, from 1990 to today, that have never been released on vinyl before. There is a huge opportunity there for Tone Poet to do some of that. And
Charles Lloyd. Oh,
oh,
awesome.
really?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Tone Poem. Yep, I've got that pre-ordered.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
So, you know, I would love to see more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see, like, here's a great example of a good one. This came out in 2018, and Tone Poet did the first vinyl reissue in 2020, so 2 years later. But let's see. There it is. This Dr. Lonnie Smith, All in My Mind.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. And so, you know, I think there's a huge opportunity there for Tone Poet to do more stuff like this, because there are a lot of phenomenal Blue Note albums that came out in the last 30 years that have never been released on vinyl. And so,
yeah, I have a copy of that.
Yeah.
For sale. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Unfortunately, I don't always get the opportunity or have the luxury to open up every one of these and listen. Yeah. Well, thank you, Donald, for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I hope Blue Notes updates are.
I was
better read.
I was also very surprised and happy to see in the list of 2021 Tone Poets that were coming out, in addition to Blue Note, they're going to be reissuing, I think, 6 or 7 Pacific Jazz titles as well.
Really?
Going back to West Coast Jazz, and some of those titles that they're releasing are really top shelf. So it's good to see.
Who's going to release those?
Tone Poet.
Really?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep. They're doing some Pacific Jazz titles, and there are a few, you know, newish releases that are going to be coming out. Tone Poet, and I'm all over those when they come out. So
good. Yeah, you know, the Tone Poet series are good. There's other series that are happening that are great, and Impacts, Analog Productions. I mean, it just goes on. And
yeah,
you know, we may not get. And so yes, we talk about having the original pressings for historic. I don't mind having a copy of Sidewinder that's in G condition, and then having a wonderful copy to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, I don't like to use the word luck, but some people say, well, good luck finding a nice clean copy of this for $20, you know.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that's one of the brilliant things about Tone Poet, is that it gets those titles out there at an affordable price for the masses, right? And that's how you keep the music alive. That's, you know, jazz, especially, the way that jazz stays alive is by having the best of the best recordings from the golden period, and for the new artists to continue to expand the boundaries of jazz, right? And there are so many good artists in the modern time that are putting out just incredible jazz right now. And so, you know, but having the older recordings available to the masses in formats that they want to buy them in is paramount. So,
aside from Poet, there's some wonderful essay CDs that are coming out. I don't know if other than myself enjoys listening to essay CDs, but I do.
I need to get a new player, and unfortunately, so I have a surround sound setup, and I have a bunch of DVD audio and super audio CDs that are mixed in 5.1. But unfortunately, my player is kind of crapping out on me, so I'm going to have to find something. I know these days SACD capability is pretty much limited to, higher end audiophile type equipment. And, there's some that are cheaper, but I mean, generally speaking, it's really hard to find a player that still does SACDs for, less than like $600-700 these days. So
I've been fortunate enough to pick up some pre-owned, some pre-loved.
That's probably what I'm going to have to do too.
Sony SACD players, and my OPPO isn't working.
That's what I've got. I've got an Oppo 980H.
Yeah, I love OPPO, but they're starting to fail, not only for me but for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and I know that they were still making them up to 2 years ago. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they stopped making the stuff fairly recently. Yeah.
And have you heard the? Oh, that's for you, Shawn.
I can't see any of the comments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there we go. No, I haven't. I need to check that out though. That's on my list, but no, I have not checked that out yet.
Yeah, I was going to say that also. Thank you, Donald. Check out Sony Blu-ray players, as they usually do SACD as well.
Oh, okay.
A lot of Blu-ray players have that capability. Absolutely.
Okay, good to know.
Sometimes I've seen in some occasions where the only output of a Blu-ray player would be the HDMI.
Mm-hmm. And that's fine for me because my receiver will do DSD over HDMI.
So if you have a vintage piece of audio, you have to be aware of that. The cool thing about the Oppos and OPPVO and the Sony that I have, it's got 4 or 6 audio outputs.
Yep, analog outs.
You can divide the sound, if you want to send one to your, so it's kind of like, so that's cool. Yeah, and so a lot of people like that because they can set up a proper surround system without using an inexpensive surround sound processor, which I think colors the sound.
Yeah.
But, there's all sorts of everything, but yeah. Hey, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us this morning, and cool things like that. It's always good for me to learn and check out new things myself, and that's one of the reasons I like Coffee and Vinyl and Cocktail and Vinyl so much, is because I learned from you, the people who come out and hang out with us, and I also learn from the guest. And so cool things like that. And so, yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, Adam. I appreciate it.
I appreciate everybody. Absolutely, Shawn, anytime. And I'm going to try to get a few records priced and put out. And I'm trying to make a video, try to get some people in here buying some Tone Poet stuff and some impacts. And not to mention, I got 3 crates of jazz records that need to be priced. And
excellent.
And cool things like that. So, yeah. If you're not busy tonight watching the football game on the television, you're welcome to come hang out with me. Yeah.
I'll probably show up for a little bit.
I want to check this out, Donald. Yeah. I want to check. There's just so much stuff coming out, folks. I could spend $10,000 a month buying new records and not get it out. And
so much good stuff.
It's just amazing. So anyway,
yeah.
Hey, thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing everybody really soon, and have a wonderful day. Take care.
Take care.